SOMos Yale affinity group that just launched this Hispanic Heritage Month in October, but also with our colleagues at ALBA and ALAS. So I'll tell you a little bit about SOMos, which our mission is to foster an alumni community that values and uplifts the Latino Hispanic experience and leadership role in business and society, which today's panel will help do. Our vision is that SOM students and alumni representation honors and reflects the growing influence of the Latino Hispanic community in the United States and internationally. And with that, I'll pass it to Christian.
All right, thank you, Gina. And so I'll provide the mission of ALBA, the American Latina Business Association. It is an inclusive community of American Latina students at Yale SOM and those interested in U.S. Latina cultures and experiences. ALBA is committed to supporting the professional and social development of Latina students or of Latina leaders to impact businesses and U.S. Latina communities. And now pass it off to my colleague Delia, who will talk about the ALAS mission.
So on behalf of ALAS, our mission is, we are the Association of Hispanic and Latin American Students who strives to enhance the experience of Latin American and Hispanic students at the Yale School of Management through the organization of professional, cultural, and social events. We hope to create an inclusive community of prospective students, current students, alumni, partners, faculty, and staff. We also aim to promote awareness of our heritage and culture at the Yale University.
Thank you, Delia. All right. And thank you, everyone on the call. I just want to give a few bullets for purpose of today's event. The first is, ALAS, ALBA, and the newly created Yale SOM Hispanic Latino Alumni Affinity Group, known as SOMos Yale. Our goal today is to facilitate a discussion between students and alumni on what it means to navigate management as a Hispanic Latino. And so with that, the event will start with an alumni speaker panel featuring Karen Mercado Leyva, class of 1998, Yvonne Camponogara, class of 2021, and Lucila Imperiale, class of 2005, followed by small group discussions. And so those who are on virtually, you will be put into breakout groups, and in person, we will have you huddled together. And we encourage you all to rename your Zoom profile using your name, SOM year, career focus, and feel free to add contact information in the chat section, such as LinkedIn, email, phone number, career focus, and where you're based. And also feel free to use the chat feature to add questions for panelists. And so with that, we'll go ahead and have the speakers introduce themselves, starting off with Karen, followed by Yvonne, and lastly, Lucila.
Thank you, Christian. And thank you to the organizers for including me. Thank you all for being present. You saw the official bio, but I wanted to give you some unofficial context because that might be a little interesting to you. I'm from Nicaragua. I was raised in Miami, and my parents didn't know anything about college, didn't know anything about Harvard, didn't know anything about Yale. My ex-husband, who went to Yale Law, is Cuban, and same story. No knowledge of anything that we were able to do, and we did everything without any sort of financial support from our parents. So I'm a first gen, and I think some of you may be as well. My experience is mainly in consulting and entrepreneurship and risk management, and after having raised my family, I'm looking to get back into fintech or impact investing or even humanitarian causes.
Hey everyone, my name is Yvonne Camponogara, and similarly, my family came from Argentina, so I'm first generation American. We moved to New Jersey, and the reason we chose wonderful New Jersey was because my parents knew one person in the United States and they lived in New Jersey. So that's where we lived. And I'm very thankful for it. I feel like I got a lot of exposure to different cultures, and I think that that's why we're here, to talk about culture and how that can influence the way you grow up and the way you act in management. So currently, I'm a private wealth advisor at Goldman Sachs. I work with affluent families to create boutique investment portfolios and help steward multi-generational wealth for them. And excited to be here with all of you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Really excited to connect with Yale SOM and the Hispanic and Latino students. I'm also, well, I was born in Argentina, actually. And exactly 20 years ago, I moved to the States to do my MBA at Yale. I think it was a family story, too, that my mother and aunt also came to the States for their American dream. My mom went back to Argentina, but when I grew up, she really imbued in me that dream as well. So I'm actually, achieving my dream and have been achieving my dream over the past 20 years. And in terms of what I do or what I've done since graduating from SOM, I worked in consulting. I worked for industry at different retail companies. And now I'm a director at Tiffany & Company.
Thank you, Lucila. We'll get started with our panel. If we have time, we'll go through 3 themes: assimilating and in the workplace through our Latino identity. How does that show up? Mentorship, and then intergenerational responsibility. And so with that, I'll start with Lucila, since you were an international student when you came to Yale SOM, and we had the pleasure of being together for 2 years. And I see 2 of our colleagues, Oscar and Brett Magoon, on our Zoom today. So I'd love to hear from you how it was, bringing your Latina or Latin American identity to the workplace and to your transition here in the United States.
Yeah. So for me, to tell you the truth, I've always been myself. I don't think I've really tailored myself to really hide that identity, but rather learned about the American workplace as I got more experience, but always kept my identity in place. And that was really important for me, not only as I continued progressing in my career, but also as I was choosing new jobs to do or new roles to fill. I think what really helped me with my background as a Latina and coming from abroad was really having a sense of resiliency, and bringing a new perspective on how to solve problems or just on how to deal with people. I think both that Latino background as well as just my effort to grow helped me connect with people, I think, much better. And I don't know, being more personable, I think really helped me make more connections. And I think I owe that to my background, having come from where I came.
Yvonne, Karen?
I would just add that I think connections are, and you learn this in business school, but connections are so important in the business world, especially as you get more senior. You stop focusing on the Excel work and the PowerPoints and everything. You still do that, but over time it's less and less so. So the emphasis on connection, on management, on people increases over time. So I think that you guys, and I'm experiencing this as well, it's on the precipice of a change in responsibility. And so I would emphasize connection, and culturally, the culture from which you come from, Latino in general, or specifically your country or whatever, those are all wonderful points of connection. So when you walk into the business world, it's not like, you know, you walk in and say, hi, I'm Latino first, and then I'm going to be a good worker. It's, hi, I'm going to be great in every way that I can, but I come with all of these experiences. And all of these experiences will drive connection to different people. And that connection is what will help me succeed. And I think that is just a point that I would emphasize. And so that culture um, will find ways to so in the Latino world, you know, we connect on that cultural element, but it might be with someone else who doesn't share that background or shared experience. You might find other ways to connect. So ultimately, I just think of it as all one inclusive thing that builds into who you are, and then those are extensions of ways that you can kind of meet others where they are.
Yes, there's one word that is bandied about quite a bit, which is empathy. And I think that our backgrounds, because of where we come, everything that we've seen and experienced, and some of those experiences have been good and some of them have been bad, they allow us to relate to all sorts of people in the workplace. So you're going to run into people like us, and that's quite easy, right? But you're going to run into other people that maybe are disadvantaged or have other types of education, other types of roles. And as a manager, you have to be able to relate to those people. And even advocate for some of the people that are working as, let's say, caterers or cleaning people. There are ways to exemplify that empathy, and that's something that we bring from our backgrounds.
Yep, respecting everyone in a way
Exactly.
that maybe is overlooked, perhaps with someone who doesn't have this similar experience. I think to build on that point, there's and I think we'll talk about this later perhaps, but there's in Latino society, there's probably more examples, or it's more common currently, that there's generations that are quickly or completely changing the socioeconomic ladder that they're in. So the experience of your parents or your grandparents can be completely different to that of your own, and that gives you a lot of vision across different life experiences, which I think is an advantage.
Yes, and sorry, go ahead.
Please, Karen.
Just-
Oh, no, I was just going to pass it on to Christian, but please, if you want to close us out on this question.
Just one more sentence. In leadership, you want to draw people to you. So it's not about telling people what to do, and just building on Yvonne's point, when you do display that empathy and that relatability, you bring in people who want to work with you, and that's really important in management.
Those are such great points. Thank you all for sharing. And as we transition to this next theme, so coming from a student perspective, right, going into the business world post MBA, post business school, one of the themes that we're focused on is like, how do you seek advocates, mentors, in the community? And I want to start with you, Yvonne. You had mentioned about just the importance of connections. And I'm just wondering if you can dive into that a bit, from whether it be an example or some sort in terms of how you've, tapped into your network, colleagues you've connected with to, help you, along your way with professional growth and, acclimating in the workplace.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. I would definitely double down on. I think that connection and the people element of the working world is actually one of the most important things that you could focus on. So in addition to the hard skills, practicing things like, how do you ask good questions? How do you connect with people? How do you make sure to take an extra moment to think about what the other person is thinking, and making sure that you're on the same page? Simple things like that. It seems like it should be automatic, but it's actually a skill, one that I highly recommend practicing. Salesmanship, we're all, whether it's raising capital, whether it's getting clients, whether it's advocating for yourself in the workplace for the promotion, you need to understand how to make a case, how to see it from the other person's side, and how to present that case compellingly in a way that makes sense. And so I think those are all skills to be practiced. And the way that you can do that is you don't walk in somewhere knowing everything from day one. Mentors are fantastic ways to learn that. They can serve as kind of the provide context on the organization, context in the organization, and also give you kind of a roadmap. Hey, I've walked this road before. This is what I've seen. I recommend A, not B, because when this happens, it doesn't go well. All of that kind of information that you can't know beforehand, and given that each organization is unique, is important. I think is really important. Then the other element is just from a learning perspective. You want to have 2 to 3 good mentors, preferably of different kinds of personalities and roles, giving you different kinds of opinions, like a board of directors, I think of it. And that helps you grow quicker than if you're learning everything via your own mistakes. So I've done this. I have one really good mentor from the DEI group here, the Latino DEI group, and we talk once every other month, and I learn a ton. I have other mentors that are non-Latino, and they're great as well, because we don't work in a vacuum with only Latino people. We work with everyone, and so that's important. And you bring different perspectives to the table. And the final point, just from being out in the world and how being Latino influences the way I work, it's something as simple as my best referral source. So I work with clients that are ultra high net worth, and those clients usually don't pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Ivan, I want to work with you." They come to me from someone, and that person is a Mexican individual who owns an investment bank here in New York, and we connected culturally. We had a lot that we could connect on, and we've become very good friends over time. And now we do a lot of business together. So I think that your culture can inform a lot of your path, and leaning into that is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing, especially as we think about kind of like what each of our unique selves bring, and, being focused on that, competency piece, right? On day one, and at the same time, allowing for kind of like where we've come from to come in to, really help us shine. And, Lucila or Karen, anything you would like to add, from your perspective, being in the workforce for some time?
I would say that yes, definitely. Finding the right mentors is something that will help you throughout your career, not only when you're starting it, but I even have mentors today that I've had for 20 years since I started. And a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be someone from your job or somebody who has a lot more experience than you. I've found mentors in many different people. And I think, and that is something that I learned coming from Argentina. We didn't have that concept, and I know one of the things that people find as a culture shock is really going out there and doing that networking or marketing yourselves. That was very difficult for me too, and I would say I really struggled with that. So you have to know that in the US workplace, I mean, that is really important for you to put some time in developing that network. And I always think whenever I would change jobs, I was always thinking I need to start working now on finding my next job after this. So you have to be very proactive on that. So that the way, and if this is helpful, the way that I started when I was at SOM that really helped me is definitely being part of the student interest groups, reaching out to alumni, and more specifically, I also found a lot of networking opportunities through Nashimba. And what I can tell you also from the perspective of the mentor, because I also have mentees, I can tell you most people are really, really open to being your mentors and to giving back. So you shouldn't feel like, you're bothering them or annoying them by, reaching out and asking for their guidance. So that's really important, I think, as a takeaway for you as well.
All excellent points. I would add, find your mentors everywhere. Don't focus just on Latino mentors. So all of my mentors, or most of my mentors, have been not Latino. And also on one more point about finding your mentors, they can help you create your environment. So when you go out to work, and let's say you find yourself in a relationship or in a department that is not working for you, if you have mentors, people that you've cultivated throughout the organization, you can move yourself somewhere else because of the relationships that you've created. So always look for those conversations. If you do a good job, just capitalize on that and follow up with that person on whom you've created or left a really good impression. And you can sort of control your environment yourself and create the opportunities for yourself by using these relationships.
Yeah, for sure. This is all good stuff. Thank you. And just one more question before we transition. Diving into that Yale SOM, Yale network, how is it that you've leaned on that, to help you and propel in your career, whether that be new opportunities that come up, like at your current job, or transitioning, and looking for a new opportunity in the workplace?
I can just kind of add that I think, to the point I was making earlier, connections come in all forms, and Yale is a very, very strong form of connection. And the reason is business school generally is a shared experience that is a connection creator. But I think Yale also particularly tries very hard to build a close-knit community. And that's what I found. So my current role, some current clients are people that I reached out to via Yale, and they go to bat for you. They care about you. They go the extra mile for you, and so finding those individuals really does make all the difference, as opposed to someone who may or may not take your call, may or may not put the time and effort in. You need someone to advocate for you, and so find any way that can happen. Each of you have other individual elements that you can utilize, but Yale, for me, and I think for everyone in the room, is a very strong one.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I wish, if I could go back, I would say to my young self, reach out and get to meet as many as your classmates as possible and build those friendships, because we really do feel a special connection with the SOM. So make sure you get to know your classmates.
And I'd add, reach out to us as well. Like just on that point, like, we're here because we care about you guys. And so, take advantage.
I agree with everything that Ivan and Karen said.
All right, awesome. And so with that, let's do some networking, build relationships. So just as we transition for the next 20-25 minutes or so, we're gonna split into small groups where it'll be an opportunity, for folks virtually in breakout room to just talk more about some of the themes we've discussed here, that the speakers have shared. And also, here in person, we'll huddle into small groups as well. And then after 20-25 minutes, we'll bring everyone back to the main room, where we'll then give folks an opportunity to share a highlight or two, for how those conversations went in small group, and then we'll close out. Does that sound good? And so with that, Alexandra, yeah, if you could do the breakouts, and we'll work it out from here in person.
Yeah, that sounds great, Christian. Thank you so much. I will just say, given that this is a intimate group, would you guys like to just remain in one breakout room? Gina, I know you had suggested that, or would you
Sure.
like us to
Yeah, that'll work.
do one? Okay. Sure.
Yeah, that'll work. And if folks can put their video on so we can have a nice conversation, that'll be great. And Christian, so the students will, do you guys want to, should we come back in about 20 minutes or so? Or did you guys?
Yes, that works.
Okay, sounds good.
At around 12:35. Yep.
Okay, great. Hey, Brett, how's it going?
Good. Nice to see you all.
It's been so long.
It has. How you doing, Lucila?
I have opened to the breakout room if you guys would like to go into the breakout room. Let me know if you guys don't get an invitation. Adrian, would you like to join the breakout room?
And our definitely looking forward to hearing the conversation you guys had there in the conference room. And then we can summarize what we talked about.
We can't hear you. I don't know if he's
There we
Okay,
go.
can you hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, so here, two main takeaways. One was when networking, some ways you can just make sure it doesn't feel transactional is when you're connecting with someone, like don't have it be that like every time you connect with them, there's always something that you want personally. And instead, think of it more as like going in with curiosity, right? And wanting to like learn more about the person, what their passions are, interests, what gets them excited. So that was kind of like the first takeaway. The second one was, being more comfortable when connecting with people, knowing that people are people and that you can be genuine about yourself and, just, how you share yourself to someone, especially, with the SOM community, and leveraging whether it be like shared relationship or shared experiences you've had while here on campus. So those are the two main takeaways. How about on your end, Gina?
Yeah, well, we had folks in California and Atlanta, and a few themes that we talked about was about that sense of empathy and relationships and how that connection to family is so important. But also maintaining connections professionally across countries. Brett was and Adrian talked a lot about how important maintaining those international connections are really important, especially when it comes to business opportunities. And then we closed out with Oscar talking about being courageous and taking every opportunity for professional development and leadership, and putting yourself out there. So it was great to kind of learn from our fellow colleagues. Alum.
Yes, of course. That's awesome, Gina. Thank you for sharing. Before we close out, we just have spend like a minute or two on questions. And I know that on our end, our fellow co-president of ALBA, Kim, has a question.
Are you talking into the mic? And maybe that's the best way to do it. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you to the alums for joining this call. I know that Christian has been working really hard on this event along with Andres, and they've roped in some of the ALBA and ALAS leadership community, but really, I would say Christian and Andres have been a lot of the hard work behind this. And just speaking as a second-year student, I know we're all very excited about SOMos specifically because we haven't had an official forum to communicate with alumni. So thank you again for setting time aside to speak with us. The question I wanted to ask was around family, because right now, as I'm thinking about full-time opportunities and where I want to end up, my family's based in Phoenix. I'm now on the East Coast. I've been on the East Coast for a bit, and I'm very torn on whether or not to stay on the East Coast, where maybe it feels like a lot of the Yale SOM network will remain, versus going back closer to home. And so would love to just get perspective from alumni on how you navigate, this desire to be ambitious in your career and succeed in that capacity, but also still be there for your family. And if you have any specific stories you could share, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Karen,
Actually, Gina, I had I guess a comment. So I'm originally from South Texas, and going up to New Haven was a different world for me. And probably it seemed like 60, 70, 80% of the opportunities I was looking at as a graduate, or soon to be graduate at the time, were in New York and Boston. And I wasn't opposed to living in New York. I thought it could be exciting, but I definitely wanted to go home, to be closer to family. And I noticed that the people who did look for jobs outside of the Northeast, it definitely requires more work and effort. It's daunting, it's intimidating, I think, for some initially, but I think it paid off for those people. Another thing that way you can approach this challenge, if you call it, is just think of it in 2 or 3 steps. You might come across a great opportunity in New York, and doing that for a year or 2, I think it's definitely it looks like it's a plus to go back to Phoenix if you do, and you have experience in New York. I think that's a great asset on your resume. You might do this in 2 or 3 years, in 5 years, or you might change your mind, but it's definitely. I think there was also comments I remember at the time, like, oh, you got to go to New York. And what I learned from my personal experience, yes, obviously New York and Boston have a lot of going for it. There's a lot of important companies there. They work on a lot of important things, but it's definitely not the only place to go. I'm speaking more for finance, but obviously this applies to other industries, and your industry will change this, these comments a little bit, but whether you do it in 1 step or 3 steps, there's more than one way to get to your ultimate goal if you really want to get back home to family. And it depends on your how much work you want to put into looking elsewhere. It's definitely harder to get a job in Phoenix from New Haven, but you can do it.
Thank you.
Sorry for jumping in there.
No, that was great. So we're at time. I guess if anyone doesn't have any burning questions, we'll close out. Yeah.
Any burning questions, friends?
Okay.
and hopefully, Christian, the conversations can continue with SOM Connect. Hopefully folks will look for each other, look for us on SOM Connect, and please join our affinity group, the SOMos affinity group. I know many of you are at SOM now, but you will be a part of SOMos for a long time. So we look forward to welcoming you and having future events. So yes, somconnect.yale.edu if you haven't already updated your profile, or we look forward to seeing you in our affinity group.
Yes, and again, thank you, Karen, Lucila, and Yvonne, for sharing your experiences in depth with us today. And we hope to see you all in future and upcoming events. Thank you all.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.